should anonymous sources who talked to Tapper have spoken up about their concerns while he was in office, while he was still in office? And my other question is, why is this important to know now?
Yeah. Well, that's what some people want to know.
It just seems to me,
yeah,
you know, we got a lot of stuff to be concerned about at the moment.
Yeah, least of all you. That's the ironically named Whoopi Goldberg of ABC News. She's on their payroll. Why do we need to know now? She wants the cover-up to continue. Filthy that she is. She's one of the filthies from way back. She's Whoopi Goldberg. Her real name is Karen Johnson. She thought if she became Jewish, it might help her in show business. Hey, now my name's Goldberg. Anything? Get anything for the... I know I'm a miserable, wretched lunatic, but if I called myself Whoopi, would I appear to be a happy person for just a moment, even though it's completely fraudulent? Well, a very good Wednesday, too. That is Hump Day in the Clinton household, of course, and it's mail day. It's mailbag day here, and I have my Michael Piercy just delivered me my mailbag questions. I have them in my hand right here. You can hear them on the radio. But, of course, in the Clinton household, it's another day of Hillary Clinton waking up face down in a pool of her own dried vomit on a linoleum kitchen floor in a multi-million-dollar mansion, with the Secret Service standing over her, their knuckles on their hips, shaking their heads, tisk, tisk. What might have been, but thankfully was not. Isn't that remarkable? She's a tragic story, a sad story. Back in 2016, I declared that Hillary Clinton would never win, that she couldn't win the presidency, that Donald Trump would win, because her story is a tragedy, a little bit of a comedy. There's some comedy in there. Get back to the old Greek stuff, but I laugh at her, but only at my cruelest moments, because she's a sad and pathetic person, a tragic person, very, very tragic. But we've got a great deal of news for you once again, because so many things. Here's one, for example. Hunter Biden breaks his silence on Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper, he's the biggest author in the world. He's as big an author as Hunter Biden is an artist. You know, Hunter Biden selling his paintings for more than you spend less buying a Picasso, an actual legitimate Picasso. In many instances, I shared the dollar figures with you in the past. And now Jake Tapper, he's going to sell maybe not as many copies as the Bible, but maybe the Koran. Maybe the Koran got that going. But Hunter Biden breaks his silence on Jake Tapper. And this guy, Alex Thompson, who apparently actually wrote the book, and then no publisher would take it. None of the publishing houses wanted the book by Alex Thompson, The Original Sin. I don't know if that's the original. I think we could go back farther than that for the original media sin, but got that. And then Alex Thompson, no fool is he went to Jake Tapper and said, hey, nobody wants my book. Maybe if I put your sleazy, untrustworthy name on it, a publishing house will want it. And sure enough, in the corrupt media universe that we exist in today in the United States of America, that worked. And now we've got Hunter Biden himself coming out, and he's got an opinion, and it's got nothing to do with paintings. Nothing to do with paintings. But we have that going for us. So that's that's a fun item. And Jake Tapper, he's all over the media. He made a big mistake going on with Megyn Kelly, with the wonderful Megyn Kelly. I used to go on Megyn Kelly's television show, and she was on the Fox News Channel. My best girl, she likes the Megyn Kelly podcast very much. And I've always liked Megyn Kelly very much. And she had the Jake Mobile Tapper on, and she asked him a question or two, the kinds that everybody should ask, but nobody does, because they're not journalists. They're left-wing party hacks, Democrat Party hacks. And remember, the Democratic Party isn't. Friendly fire isn't. Common courtesy isn't. And the Democratic Party isn't. And certainly Jake Tapper, former Democrat Party Capitol Hill staffer, he's no journalist. But there's lots of stuff on that because it's part of the cover-up. It's the cover-up continuing. Now Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson and the rest, they're engaged not only in the ongoing cover-up of the Biden family corruption and the big lies and all of that, but also the news media cover-up, because The news media cover-up is now key to the ongoing propaganda machine that is the Democrat Party, most important organ on the body politic of the Democrat Party is not just their engorged appendage, but the news media, which, let's face it, is the engorged appendage, I think. That's great stuff. Jake Tapper absolutely buries sleazy and unethical Hunter Biden, questions why he had so much power. Now Jake Tapper is revealing, it's like Hunter Biden, the crackhead kicked out of the Navy for being a junkie, and he's smoking crack with Marion Barry, and said, it turns out Hunter Biden was running the White House, and who was running the auto pen, because we still don't know who was president while Joe Biden was living in the White House. And that heck of a doctor, he's got a heck of a doctor for wife, Dr. Jill Biden, also known as not a doctor, Jill Biden. But Jake Tapper's like, oh, gosh, I'm going to have to reveal now everything I knew all along and that I lied to you about for years, and now you should believe me because I'm not lying anymore. That's kind of the thing. It's not the truth, but they have very low regard for the truth. So we've got that. Jake Tapper reveals blunt message to hold staff, and it's when during the debate, and this is when he's on with Megyn Kelly again, Joe Biden really did badly. Then he went on TV and lied to the dozens of people that were watching him on CNN. But Megyn Kelly holds Jake Tapper's feet to the fire. You seem to be running cover for the president, she began. Yeah, thank you. If you've been listening to this show for the last 5 years, you were getting the truth the whole time. The unvarnished truth in many instances, but who likes truth varnished anyway? I like unvarnished truth. I'll take a little bit of not just the finishing sandpaper, but the rough sandpaper to it. I don't like my truth to be varnished. Our news media, on the other hand, gang of sexual deviant sleazoids that they are. I think many of them transgender. The Democrats have more transgender stuff today too. In Maine and beyond, they're just completely insane. And you know, the Council on American Islamic Relations, are you familiar with them? They have one of the heads of CARE. They call it CARE. That's an irony, calling it CARE. They care to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews, for one thing, and destroy America. CARE leader, who serves on California State Civil Rights Panel, cheers Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis and says, because he hates Trump too, says Trump's time will come. This is another guy, if he's got a visa. If he's here on a visa, he's not probably, but if he's here on a visa, he should be catapulted into the Pacific Ocean in a great ball of fire. But that's your Council on American Islamic Relations, which the news media treats like they're, the Vatican. They treat him better than the Vatican because they're contemptuous of the Vatican, of course. Oh, speaking of which, in Florida, the Democrats, I was going back and forth with my friend Tom in Florida, old high school pal, and he sent me a story out of the Florida newspapers, pretty amazing stuff, that the Democrats are pushing Satan again. They got in schools. You got to have the Satan posters in schools because they're, Democrats are around. Quite amazing stuff. And you know how they love the jihad and the Democrat Party? They call everybody Nazis and then they want to exterminate the Jews. No sense of irony, these people. But I played for you day before yesterday, the woman at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C., perhaps the most expensive college in the United States of America, at the commencement address. And she was up there railing against the Jews and all this madness. Well, the George Washington University has banned that lunatic student from campus over her anti-Israel, anti-Semite rant at the graduation, at the commencement there. Her name, you may remember, is Cecilia Culver, and she should never be hired by anyone except maybe the American Fascist Party.
These atrocities cause us to take stock in our own complacency in the imperialist system.
Yeah, the complacent, our imperialist system. Listen to what they've done to these people. She should, her parents should demand she didn't pay her own way through school. I hope she has $400,000 in college debt and that she never gets a job. That would be appropriate. That'd be just desserts, wouldn't it?
I am ashamed to know my tuition is being used to fund this genocide.
And the crowd goes wild. Deutschland, Deutschland, über alles. Yeah, there was a great moment on Capitol Hill yesterday, too. with Chris Van Hollen, who loves gangsters from El Salvador and hates women from his home state of Maryland, who he thinks should all be murdered by tattooed, non-English speaking gang members, which happens more than I'd like, but not as much as Senator Chris Van Hollen would apparently like. And he was on Capitol Hill in a hearing yesterday with the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who's doing great. And Marco Rubio had to slap him around like a little B-word because he's got a tiny little squirrel brain, but he's a vicious, corrupt, racist, anti-Semite. And, he's a Democrat. And speaking of graduations and hating everybody, Columbia University, they've got a new interim president, woman I used to work with, Claire Shipman. She was at CNN and then ABC News and all that. She's now the acting president of Columbia because they had to force the last president of Columbia out because I think she was a Nazi or something, wasn't she? And they forced her out. But they were chanting Free Mahmoud, who's a jihadi who's here to destroy Western civilization. And at Columbia University, an Ivy League institution where Barack Obama went to school, they're chanting, free the jihadis and, snuff out the Jews. The Democrat Party has done this to the United States of America. Just amazing. And again, I mentioned Maine, the state of Maine, the wonderful, beautiful state of Maine that the left is whizzing all over every day and choking to death. Maine, I've told you about this woman, a state representative, who is against men stealing women's trophies in sports. And the Democrats will, burn the Jewish governor's house down with Molotov cocktails. And then they'll stand up for the dude who doesn't look like a lady at all, stealing trophies from high school track star young women and college track star young women because the Democrats are on the wrong side of everything. Well, Maine lawmaker, wonderful, reacts to Supreme Court decision amid trans athlete fight. They shouldn't use trans. Trans is not what we're talking about. Transgender, transmental, transpsychological. But trans is a prefix, and it's not a standalone word, and it doesn't refer exclusively and only to, which is redundant and repetitive and unnecessarily duplicative. But it doesn't just mean that you have severed your genitalia and put it in a mayonnaise jar and left it on Funkin' Wagnall's front porch since noon today. Speaking of Andrew Cuomo, he's now being investigated. The grandma killer Democrat governor of the state of New York. And his brother is Fredo Cuomo, the fake news guy, who, isn't he like a groper? Aren't they all gropers? I think their father was not a groper, Mario Cuomo, as far as I know. He had been governor, too, and they passed it on like we live in Haiti. And it's, Papa Doc Cuomo and Baby Doc Cuomo and then Fredo Cuomo. But the Justice Department is now investigating Andrew Cuomo, the former governor of New York, over his congressional testimony where he, like pretty much every Democrat testifying before Congress, he lied under oath repeatedly. And they figure that's no big deal, not a thing at all. Yes, sir. And our news media, they continue to dazzle as well. The Chicago Sun-Times in Chicago, Illinois, accused of using artificial intelligence, AI, to create a reading list of books that don't exist. But AI did it, so they can just blame AI. What's the big deal there? And speaking of Ukraine, who's speaking of Ukraine? A big development here because, we're funding Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky with tens and tens of billions of dollars. And here, have some F-16s, which you'll never fly, and have this and have that. We'll have everything for you. Well, there was an assassination in Spain, in the Allied power, the Allied nation of Spain. And there's an American school there in Spain. A Ukrainian official, advisor to the former president, Yanukovych, you may remember, shot dead, assassinated outside of an American school in Spain. And it looks like, well, let me just say that this guy that was gunned down in an obvious assassination in Spain, Andrei Portnov, gunned down, 51 years old. Maybe he's a CEO with a healthcare company or something, and the Democrats want him dead. The Democrat Party kills, and then illegal aliens mop it up for them. It's another reason they like illegal aliens. But this Andrei Portnov, 51 years old, gunned down in Spain, 9:15 a.m. in front of the American school. Turns out this guy is an enemy of Joe Biden's ally, of the Democrat Party's ally, of Americans' ally. All right? The recipient of our largesse in Ukraine, and it looks like our buddy there, Zelensky, is gunning down his political enemies, or having them gunned down. Wouldn't do it himself. They would know him by his black T-shirt. So we're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, Michael, let's go to the telephones and talk to the nice American people on our American telephones, which are here thanks to the patriarchy. We should take away Hillary Clinton's telephone privileges and her electricity and her health care, granted her by the patriarchy, which she's still complaining about from one of her many multi-million-dollar mansions after flying private to get there. What an expletive deleted she is. All right, let's go to the telephones, Mike. Let's go to Jason calling from Kensington, Maryland. Jason, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, g'day, Chris. I'm actually coming to you from the crashing waves of Fort Macon, North Carolina.
No kidding. That's better.
Yeah, it's terrific, man. I couldn't get any surf in today, so I decided to go look at the big gun turrets out there at the beach that they constructed back in the day, and there was a sort of a big standoff between the Union and the Confederates here years ago. It's a pretty impressive building, actually.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we had the Democrats were causing problems back then, too.
Yeah, I took a stroll along the beach, and lo and behold, I saw my name there etched in shells on the beach. So I took a picture of it.
So that's good. You should send that along. Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. Like this Comey thing is just so ridiculous. I mean, you imagine if it was the Republicans that be marched out in leg shackles, 4:00 in the morning. You know, I mean, look at those guys like that were arrested early hours and put in leg shackles for
Peter Navarro. That was Peter Navarro. Yeah, an attorney. The Democrats put him in leg shackles because they're medievalists.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. He should. Comey should get a pre-dawn raid. The FBI drag him out in leg shackles and cuffs, throw him in the back of a meat wagon. Comey, who's 6'8". 6'8" is James Comey, and you know what got 86th was James Comey's credibility. His credibility is somewhere in the zone of Jake Tapper's credibility. That coming up, and Satan Class. Now, you all know how the Democrats love Satan and they worship Satan, and they wish that there was someone here on earth to crucify because they're a violent mob of bloodthirsty, murderous rebel. You know that, right? Everybody knows that at this point. My friend Tom in Florida sent me a great story. I went and found the original story today from the Florida Today, which is the USA Today Gannett paper out of Florida, right? And the headline is, Founder of Church of Satanology requests banners be hung at 5 Brevard high schools. That's Brevard County in Florida. A former Palm Bay resident, now an activist and founder of the Church of Satanology and Perpetual Soiree, it's the Church of Satanology and Perpetual Soiree, has requested, nay, demanded, that the Brevard County Public Schools display banners for his religious, and he loves his Satan thing, in 5 high schools. In an email sent on May 19th to Brevard's school board and superintendent, Mark Rendell, Timothy Chaz Stevens, his name is Timothy Stevens and he goes by Chaz, requested that banners for Satanology be placed at Vieira High School, Melbourne High School, Heritage High School, Palm Bay Magnet High School, got to get the smart kids, and Rockledge High School. Stevens, a Florida Tech graduate who now resides in Boca Raton, which translates to the mouth of the rat, said a current religious banner at Palm Bay High clearly establishes a precedent for religious expression within Brevard County schools. See, somebody is a Christian and he can't sleep at night knowing that somebody is aware of the existence of God. So he comes out to worship Satan and to inflict Satan on, the still forming minds of high school kids in Brevard County, Florida. Brevard Public Schools did not confirm if such a banner exists. Well, he can make them up. They got, some of their Democrat banner-making shops. We see them make them all the time for, kill the Jews, love Hamas, the Democrat Party stuff. Love Tren de Aragua, love MS-13, hate the police. They have banners for everything, and their banners pop up like that, don't they? All over the place. And he says, given my successful track record and familiarity in filing and litigating pro se cases of this magnitude, including the ongoing case against the Brevard School Board, I am fully prepared to advocate vigorously for constitutional compliance in Brevard County. He wrote, because, Satan, he worships Satan, and he's a Democrat. He voted for Kamala Harris, and he voted for Joe Biden, and he voted for Hillary Clinton, and he voted for Barack Obama, and he voted for Satan because he worships Satan. And when you're a Democrat, Satan is your guide. Dog is your co-pilot, and they harvest the organs of hundreds of thousands of unborn babies every year. And they're not on the side of human life. They're not on the side of freedom. They're on the side of Satan, though.
Be Satan.
I think it could be Satan. And again, I mentioned in passing, and that's part of the Democrats' program is, they have after-school Satan clubs all across America in schools, and the Democrats love Satan, after-school Satan clubs. The reason I say they're Democrats is because, first look at Chuck Schumer. Let's start with that. Then look at the practices implemented by Barack Hussein Obama, and things like that. But the after-school Satan Club has been going on for years, and the Washington Post has written about it glowingly in the past. They love the after-school Satan Club stuff. They think it's great. That's when they stand up for First Amendment rights and for free speech, when they're defending Satan and Satan worshipers.
God is dead. Satan lives.
That's a Rosemary's Baby moment. They love Rosemary's Baby. I think it's Hollywood. It was an early clue, I think. But they're doing this all over the country, and they love Satan and MS-13 and Tren de Aragua and Hamas and Planned Parenthood. The Democrat Party in the 21st century. They're truly something. And speaking of gunning people down, I was reminded of the healthcare executive that was gunned down by their hero, one of their many killer heroes. They just love these heroes, Luigi Mangione, right? And Luigi Mangione is a hero of the Democrat Party. He gunned down a 52-year-old father of two, a husband, a CEO who had lived an ideal life. And then he was gunned down by Luigi Mangione, and the Democrats all want their daughters to date Luigi Mangione, not the murdered CEO, but they love the murderer because, that's who they are. But he murdered Brian Thompson December 4th of last year on a sidewalk in New York, and Luigi Mangione became an instant celebrity in Democrat circles, and all their daughters want to oil him up and date him. It's a pretty amazing Democrat Party. We have Brian Thompson, CEO, United Healthcare, gunned down for no reason at all except, insurance is bad, healthcare is bad, but I thought the Democrats fixed healthcare about 20 minutes ago. Isn't that amazing? But now we've got another example. And watch the news media not cover this story because this is pretty amazing. a pretty amazing story for a number of reasons. Former aide to Ukraine's pro-Russian ex-president Yanukovych shot dead outside American school in Madrid, Spain. What? How could that be? What's that? You mean guys walked up and gunned him down just like Luigi Mangione did to Brian Thompson? Yes, that's what I mean. And it turns out the man is, he was named. Now he's dead because he was gunned down this morning in Madrid, Spain, in front of the American school by at least 2 gunmen. Andrei Portnov, a former advisor to Ukraine's pro-Russian former president, Viktor Yanukovych. Joe Biden was involved with all that, too. Was shot dead outside an elite American school in Madrid, Spain. The former Ukrainian politician, Andrei Portnov, shot dead on Wednesday morning outside a U.S. school in the wealthy suburb of Madrid. Spanish authorities said. Police received a call about the shooting at the American school of Madrid in the Pozuelo area, whatever, at 9:15 a.m., and they rushed to the scene, according to Spain's Interior Ministry. And then a radio station there, Cadena SER, S-E-R, said the 52-year-old, what a coincidence, was taking his children to school when he was shot several times. El Mundo newspaper said no one else was injured. Witnesses reported that Portnov was shot several times in the head and body by more than one gunman when he was getting into a vehicle, according to Spanish police. The assailants, plural, then fled on foot to a nearby wooded area. They always like wooded areas, don't they? Portnov was a senior aide to Ukraine's former pro-Russian president, Viktor Yanukovych, who notoriously withdrew from signing the Ukrainian association agreement with the European Union, sparking a bloody Euro, what they're calling it, a Euro-Maiden protest in 2013 and 2014. During Yanukovych's presidency, Portnov was widely viewed as a pro-Kremlin figure and was involved in drafting legislation aimed at persecuting participants in the 2014 revolution in Ukraine, because, it's like that. So now his friends are Vladimir Putin and Viktor Yanukovych, the former president of Ukraine. And what were Joe Biden's ties to Yanukovych and to Yana? And what was Joe Biden's role in all of this? And the Democrat Party's role in all of this? And who has been taking in millions of dollars from Ukraine, in addition to Hunter Biden and the Biden family, millions from Ukraine? But after Yanukovych fled Ukraine for Russia in February 2014, following months of unrest, that ended in scores of protesters killed by his forces in Kiev, which is not pronounced Kiev. Portnov was placed several sanctions lists. He was sanctioned by the West, including by the EU and Canada for his actions and a part of the administration. Now, who had him killed today? Well, the assumption is that it's not Putin and the Russians, and it's not the Yanukovych people, but it is, of course, the Volodymyr Zelensky people. So the guy that we have been funneling tens of billions of dollars to, having political rivals, political enemies assassinated in NATO countries like Spain, outside of the American school, when gunmen come up and shoot him in the head, kind of like their hero Luigi Mangione did to Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare. The Democrat Party, and they're part of the worldwide left. Make no mistake about that. And it's just, it's absolute madness what the Democrats are doing.
Like, here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
Yes, Taylor Lorenz on Luigi Mangione. They all want to date Luigi Mangione. They want to oil him up and shave him, and they want to take him home. They love the murder. They love the bloodiness because they're not liberals. They're the left. Aren't they amazing? These people, in the United States, we call them Democrats. They're the left. And again, never use red state, blue state, and red party, blue party. They are the red party. They are so red They are the Soviet Union. They're the party of Bernie Sanders. They're the party of, honestly, of commies everywhere. They're so close to being Putin. Putin, we criticize Putin for having people murdered in apartment buildings in Moscow, and we should criticize him for having people murdered, including reporters in apartment buildings in Moscow and elsewhere. Some go off rooftops and out windows, which is an old KGB thing, and Putin's an old KGB guy, of course. And he's a warmongering murderer, Putin, because he's a commie, and that's what commies do, just by the way, in case you lost track. So the Democrats today, where are we now? Murder, Satan, assassination, and the Democrats not on our side. Definitely not on our side. And they love transgenderism. They love men stealing trophies from women, boys stealing trophies from girls while pretending to be women. And at college campuses, they're shouting down Israel and punishing Israel, want to punish Israel, and reward Hamas, which is a genocidal, anti-Semitic death cult drenched in the blood of innocents that they kidnapped, raped, and murdered, and after holding hostage, of course. They're still holding dead bodies hostage. And the campuses across America, because of the Democrat Party, 100% because the Democrat Party, are cheering Hamas and condemning the Jews. And then they call everybody Nazis. Aren't they amazing? They use the words, but they don't know what they mean. Speaking of Jake Tapper, his book is making the rounds. And boy, is it getting a lot of play. Nobody should buy it. And it's just another lie. And it's not even Jake Tapper's book. Alex Thompson had the book, went to Jake Tapper, said, no publishing houses want my book. Will you help me get a publishing house? And so he did. And now he's on TV talking about, why isn't Alex Thompson doing all the interviews on TV? Crazy. Let's take a phone call, Michael. Let's go to Ivan. Let's go to Ivan, calling from Miramar Beach, Florida. Ivan, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, good morning, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, buddy. What do you know?
Hey, Chris, I got a comment and two quick questions, if I could. I'll be quick. One on Jake Tapper's book. You know, to me, this is an absolution book, but to me, the Democrats' agenda has not changed, and they're not going to expose everything. And I don't believe for a moment that we're getting the whole truth from Jake Tapper, but just a convenient truth. And I believe that there's lots and lots that we don't know that we maybe will never find out. But I think that's just a tip of the iceberg was what he's reporting. My two quick questions for you, Chris. We've complained about Obamacare for over a decade, Chris.
Yeah.
And now that we have the White House and both houses, you hear crickets about Obamacare.
Yeah.
The first question is, are we stuck with Obamacare? And then the question number two is real quick, is that are we stuck? I love President Trump. I trust President Trump. But it seems like we're waiting for the courts to imprimatur, regarding illegal immigration. And my question is, are we stuck with the 20 million illegals? To me, it's better for us to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission, and we should just go ahead and deport them. But to me, it's like we're waiting, and it's back in my mind. I'm going, are we going to be stuck with these 20 million? And when Democrats take power, are they going to give them citizenship? Anyway, that's a mouthful. But anyway, I'm going to get off and let you answer. Thank you very much.
Well, I got to say, Ivan, you've got very important questions on your mind, and you're right. President Trump tried to undo Obamacare in his first term in office. The Democrats self-immolated and they opposed it with every fiber of their being because they love giant government. And once you take someone's health care away from them and give it to the government, you control the people. And that's what totalitarian regimes do, and that's what the left is here to do. The Trump administration tried to undo it. I haven't heard any talk about it since he came back this time. And look, I'm still waiting, and I'm with you on President Trump, and I trust him, and I believe him. And we've got to, where's the Jeffrey Epstein list? And really, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, we were told by the FBI director and by Dan Bunch. Oh, yeah, he killed himself. Then they just moved on. I was talking about this with someone last night. Not nearly enough. I'm not convinced. And they've got to do more to convince me that, and you can't just laugh it off and say, oh, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Next question, that's not good enough. Now, you got power because of the 77 million voters, and you've got to straighten up. I got to say, Ivan, on healthcare, they really wrecked healthcare, and it's going to be hard to unwreck. I don't know how you go back and unwreck it. It's going to be really hard. But and the Jake Tapper book, I'm going to get into that with you. That's coming up.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
And Democrat, radical, communist, extremist, pro-gang member, Congresswoman MacGyver. She is due in court today. She should get at least 22 years in prison, maybe Guantanamo. Maybe we should reopen Alcatraz for her and put her in the hole. Put her in the hole there. Supermax, maybe underground for 22 years. Yeah, she should get the same thing Enrique Tarrio got. That's 22 years, right? She should get. He didn't assault anybody, and the Democrats gave him 22 years. Deutschland. Let's go back to the phones, Mike. Let's go to John calling from Salem, Oregon. John, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hello, Chris.
Hey, John.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
I'm from Ohio, not Oregon.
You know what? And I read it wrong. My fault entirely. Salem, Ohio. I apologize.
But one of my questions: why is nobody going to jail? We got all the right people in there, but nothing's happening. And just like Comey, we know he's lying. We know he's lying because that's a given with Democrats, right?
Yes.
Why don't they give him a lie detector test and throw him in jail?
Why wasn't he arrested at home in a pre-dawn raid with armed FBI agents with rifles and helmets and flashlights like Roger Stone was?
Right. And one other thing about these auto pen things. We don't know who did that. Shouldn't the Supreme Court or somebody say they all should be thrown out? Because we don't know who did that.
Well, you're right. These executive orders as an auto pen, and if the White House chief of staff, or if Hunter Biden, as Jake Tapper is suggesting, Hunter Biden was really in charge. If Hunter Biden was signing these things, you're right, John.